I think the whole world knows this. However, what will we do with the Arabs who live in the land of Israel? We're not going to be democratic. Will they be citizens of different grades, different qualities? Will we lose our Jewish identity? That is what everyone asks, those who worry about the Jewish identity in inverted commas. We must not get confused, ladies and gentlemen. They say to us, there is an issue here, and there are different values that come into conflict here. There is the land of Israel, Arutz Israel, or democratic rule. How can we compare the two at all? Arutz Israel, the land of Israel, is a vision. It is a goal. It is an objective. And democracy is a type of rule. It is a vessel. It is a tool. And so we must not get confused. This is a very simple matter. How can one compare between the land of Israel and democratic rule or anything else? Because democracy is just a way. It is a tool. I'm not going to say to give up on democracy or waive democracy. We have to deal with the challenges and the difficulties. We're trying to implement sovereignty, but trying to give up the land of Israel because of this. Implementing sovereignty in Judea and Samaria, does that mean that it weakens us? Do we give up something that belongs to us? This weakness spreads, influences the Galilee, the Negev, and other people say, no, we have to educate the people first, but we have succeeded in doing so. Most of the people are against giving away pieces of the land of Israel. More than 60% object to giving the Golan, or giving away Jerusalem. And if there was a law of Judah and Samaria, I think the results would be identical. And to those who say, no, first of all comes Torah. That is what kept us, guarded us for all these generations. That is true. In the diaspora it did. But there is also the Torah of Arutz Israel, of the land of Israel. Israel gives Torah strength. And where was the flourishing of the Torah? We have never seen it anywhere else like we see it here in Israel. And just to quote the Prime Minister, 2 nations, 2 states for 2 nations, that is destructive. Only if it's just tactical talk, because speech, words have strength, have force. And we have come here today to say the sovereignty of the state of Israel in Judea and Samaria. This is something that must be done now. We have to strengthen our position in the world, and this is how we can do it. Here in Hebron, we turn to the Prime Minister to take strength from Joshua ben Nun, from Caleb ben Yefuneh, and to take that only option that is out there, that is implementing sovereignty in Judea and Samaria. We must not wait for September. The initiative is in our hands. We are not the first who have struggled over this issue. Geula Cohen, our friend, gave the Knesset at least 3 times a bill to implement law in Judea and Samaria, and of course she was the one who wrote up the law of Jerusalem. I would like to quote a few sentences from that bill of Geula's bill, and just to show you how relevant it still is. Yes, Geula Cohen, in March of 1986. Dear Mr. Spokesperson, it is my honor today to try to bring this bill before you to implement law, Israeli law, Judea and Samaria. Honorable Knesset, we lost that opportunity in 1967 at the end of the Six-Day War. That was the best timing, the most natural timing to implement that law in that area. And she carries on saying, dear Mr. Spokesperson, 19 years have passed, but Paris has not despaired. Mr. Paris is still waiting for a call from Hussein, who's waiting for a call from Arafat, who's waiting for a call from Hezbollah, and so forth and so forth. So When will we wake? At the beginning of this implementation of the Israeli law on Judea and Samaria, it's not only because it is justified and moral, but also because it is the most realistic thing to do. We would like us to join this whole area, not to Hebron, to Tel Aviv, but Tel Aviv to Hebron. Hebron is the main thing. Dear spokesperson of the Knesset, without Judea and Samaria, this would be the death of State of Israel. The option of life is the Israeli option, not only from a security point of view. And I think the majority of Israelis think so, but especially from a historical, national point of view, the continuing of Zionist enterprise, the connection of the Jewish people to the land of Israel, a continuance which is our moral basis for living here, a continuance that has challenge, of course, a pioneering challenge. We do not ignore the difficulties. Yitzhak Tebenkin said about the reality of more than 1 million Arabs in Judea and Samaria. He said, yes, that is a headache for us. So he said, but when one has a headache, one doesn't get rid of the entire head, surely. That is some of the quotes of Geula Cohen. And if you would like to read her entire lecture, it is wonderful lyrics there. It's great. I recommend you read it. And now Nadia, my friend, I'll give her the floor. And it is my merit to be working with her. Thank you so much to you. In the current Knesset judges, first of all, in English, a few words. This is for you, sir.
If you don't hear well, you must turn your speakers on just louder, that's all. You have to put on louder. בכנסת הנוכחית,
in the current Knesset, Zibi Chotobeli, member of Knesset, actually leads this whole issue of implementing Israeli law together with the advocacy, and the member of Knesset Zev Elkin and Ari Eldad. And Ari is here with us today as well, and of course Sipi is with us here. So a member of Knesset Elkin wrote us a letter. We'll read it later on. Ladies and gentlemen, it's no coincidence that we chose to hold this conference here in Hebron. Here everything began. And as David Ben-Gurion wrote in 1970 in his preview of his book Hebron, and I quote, in Hebron, Hebrew history begins. In Hebron, Abraham had a covenant with Eshkol and Einar, and when Sarah, our matriarch, died in Hebron, Abraham bought it for 400 pieces of gold. Of course, the beginning of David's kingdom was in Hebron, and he ends and says that Hebron is worthy to be the sister of Jerusalem. Yes, Hebron are our roots, Hebron is our heart, and it is worthy that in Hebron we will call out, yes, Israeli sovereignty in Judea and Samaria. The conference this evening is organized by Women in Green with the cooperation of the Professors for National Resilience, Arutz and the Machpela Visitors Center, where we are at right now. And since the deportation from Gush Katif, Yehudit, my friend, and I have merited to work with you. So dear activists, we would like to focus on the struggle in Eretz Israel here in this area of Judea. For example, opening the bypass Zatra Road, struggling for the Zaytam Hill in Efrat, and of course that base that IDF left. Of course, Arabs wanted to take over that army base and to sever that continuity between Jerusalem and Hebron. Again, we've been struggling over all this for every single week for the past months. And of course, there are members of Knesset here and public personas today. Thank God, the IDF is back in Shtema in that base. Also, the council of the south part of Har Hebron is building that road. We're also struggling to fight over land that belongs to us by planting trees. And of course, on the hills between Elazar and Alon Shvut, we are struggling, and we have been able to redeem thousands of dunams and to plant trees and to prevent Arabs from taking over those territories. In those copies that you got on the bus that we handed out to you, you can see with your own eyes what we have done, and the next hill as well that we wish to redeem. It is clear that this is not enough. The Arabs who are financed by international anti-Semite movements every single moment take control over more lands and more hills that belong to us, to the state of Israel, to the Jewish people. They create facts by stealing away pieces of land. It was clear to us that beyond the struggle, the local struggle, we have to lead a national struggle for sovereignty in Judea and Samaria, because this is our land. And that is why we are here tonight. We have a very full and fascinating evening before us, so we would like to abide by the following rules. Every speaker will get 25 minutes to lecture and 5 minutes for questions from the audience. Okay, that is the plan. 20 minutes. Tzipi Khotobeli says it should be 20 minutes. It's just a recommendation. 10 minutes for the audience. Okay. We'll let the speakers decide for themselves, but that is basically the framework that we have. In order to stick to the schedule, we'll give each lecturer a note when he has 5 minutes left. The audience is requested not to comment during the lecture. We will all have questions, surely. We have comments. We'll even have lectures. We'll write things down on paper. We'll keep it till the end of the conference. There's cold drinks and hot drinks and cookies at the back. There is a screen over there as well. After Professor Israeli's lecture, there will be a break of 15 minutes exactly, and then we'll get some sandwiches. If somebody wants more, there is a cafeteria downstairs, and in the balcony of the cafeteria there's a screen as well. So from there as well, you can follow the lecturers. There are toilets downstairs and out of the building on the left side. If you have to leave, and we hope you will not, if you have to live in the middle, there will be buses, Egged buses, the whole time. The schedule is at the bottom. The conference is being recorded, and from beginning of next week, all the conferences will be on YouTube. You'll get an email notification. We ask all of them to fill out those cards that you got at the entrance with all your details so that you can get an update regarding the rest of the campaign and our various activities. I don't think I have to explain that such a campaign costs lots of money, and we'll be happy to receive any donation that you might be able to. Of course, outside there are boxes where you can donate. There are also forms that you can fill in for the Prime Minister to implement sovereignty in Judea and Samaria. Please disseminate these postcards among your friends and ask them to send these by mail to the Prime Minister. Finally, gratitude and thanks to everybody, for those who come from close, those who have come from far off. I know some of you came from the other side of the Green Line, like Nadia, Tel Aviv, Modi'in. Oh, wow. Thank you so much to all the speakers who have come here tonight. I'm sure they'll be fascinating to listen to. Thanks to Katsover for giving us this place, the Machpela Visitors Center. Thank you, Rabbi Eliyahu Aviad, for his support. Thank you to the interpreters. Yes, that's us. For interpreting, and thank you for SOA who donated the earphones, and Odette Taladoro, and thank you Eli and his staff for the sound, Eli and Ayelis Eisracher, the photographers. Thanks for the youth who helped organize. Thanks to the donors who allow us to be active. And finally, thank you to all those activists who come everywhere, in heat, in cold, in rain, to every hill, and the list is way too long. So I'm just thanking all of you. And here is Member of Knesset, Tzipi Khotobeli, but you're going to have to stand up on the podium.